We're looking at a far more robotic, even, dare I say, augmented intelligence type of facility that's producing so many of these millions of vehicles across the auto manufacturing landscape. And so how is that coming up, or how is that expected to also play a role within these negotiations?
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the things that the UAW is very concerned about is job security. And not only job security for the veteran workers, because they've been offered buyouts in the past. And probably what will come out of this set of negotiations is, if you want to take a buyout, if you have enough seniority, this might be a good time to take one. But they are very concerned about the younger workers that have been hired. So just to give you an example, a veteran worker makes about $32 an hour in wages. The younger workers make about $17 an hour in wages. And what the union is asking for is for those younger workers to be bumped up faster. But then they run into this prospect that we will have AI and we will have more robotics, and the car companies are going to figure out ways to streamline things. And remember, when you have electric vehicles, you're not putting engines in them, and engines take a lot of components. And so that's an area where the UAW could easily be looking at job losses.
Nathan, I know you've been reporting on this for some time. You've been talking to a number of players within the industry. What are you hearing just in terms of how long the strike could potentially go on for, and maybe some of the asks that the automakers would be a little bit more open to when they're trying to reach some sort of agreement?
I mean, it's anybody's guess, but I think it's very difficult to see how this gets resolved within days. It feels more like weeks. And I mean, I can't rule out months because the two sides just seem so far apart on benefits in particular. I think on wages, they're starting to get closer. The UAW, I think, now wants a 36% pay increase, and the automakers are at 20 or 21%. That gap is starting to shrink, but benefits is where they're really far apart. I mean, the UAW wants a return to more traditional pensions and retiree health care, and the automakers say that's absolutely not going to work.
And so just kind of broad strokes here, the impact to the economy that we may see as a result of an extended shutdown or strike, especially given that we had the Teamsters last week also step up, throw their hat in the rings and say, well, hey, we're not going to cross the picket lines either, Nathan. What kind of anticipated impact does that spell out?
I think in the immediate term, probably not a big impact because we're only talking about 3 plants. We know that there could be an additional plant for GM that goes offline because of the first 3. But I think the impact starts to widen considerably if the UAW expands the strike, which they've threatened to do.
Micheline, we know the Biden administration tapping Gene Sperling here, helping to try to really accelerate some of these talks now for quite some time. We haven't seen too much movement there. Do you think we are going to see maybe a different tone from the Biden administration as they travel to Detroit to try to get a better handle of the situation?
Well, I was very surprised to see the president weigh in on the strike so early. We've definitely had presidents in the past who expressed concern, but they haven't sent advisors to Detroit. Actually, Gene Sperling lives here, so it isn't a very far trip for him to come. But to tap 2 advisors to oversee these negotiations, or at least kind of sit on the sidelines and watch them, I mean, that's real pressure from a presidential administration. And so I have a sense that I agree with Nathan that this could drag on for a while, but I don't think it's going to drag on months. I think that there's too much political danger for the administration if this goes on. And the other thing to remember is a lot of unions around the country are expressing solidarity. People are showing up to picket, sort of friendly, join the picket lines. And so if we see a union movement across the country that really puts pressure on the 2 sides to settle, I think that will be a factor as well.
If we did see a broader union movement, where else could this kind of overflow into further from here? Because, I mean, we've already seen large negotiations and strikes also have to come forward, whether that be on the entertainment side, whether that be in the auto side, several different capacities, even as we're thinking about fulfillment, areas where there hadn't been unionization. Where do you believe, Micheline, that there could be more of an effort derivative of what we're seeing play out right now?
This is a real year for the labor movement. And I have to be honest, I mean, I'm a 3rd generation union member. I'm a member of the News Guild and the Lecturers Union at the University of Michigan. And even as somebody who's watched labor basically my whole career, I've never seen anything like this. And so I think the sympathy of labor movement members, especially younger people, if you look at the Starbucks baristas and how much sympathy they've gotten, I mean, this could spread in a number of different directions. And it's just really fascinating to watch. I've never seen anything like this before.
All right, Nathan Bomey and Micheline Maynard, thank you both so much for taking the time here today and discuss this very important topic. We'll see how much longer this plays out for. We appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.